You know, there's a ton of things that I want to get a chance to visit with Kyle Agre about because it's such a great time of year for outdoors. Now, I'm sure Kyle of Brewer Agri Outdoors would say there's never a bad time in the outdoors, but you know, coming into spring, everything you're seeing, I already saw robin, you know, those type of things. The snows and blues are flying down in my neck of the woods like crazy. You know, it's interesting though that what Kyle and his team bring to make sure that you know about is the fact that there's other things to do in the outdoors than fish and hunt. There really are. And let's bring Kyle Agre in so we can have a conversation about that. How you been?
Hey, doing great, Joel. Absolutely fantastic.
Good to have you back on down the road.
It's great to be here. It's great to be here. And you're right. There is not a bad time to be a lover of being outdoors.
I knew you were going to say that, but I have to tell you, Kyle, I'm older than you. I get that. But I've never seen a worse February in my life. I mean, when it wasn't ice cold, it was still blowing enough to make it cold. That was a tough February. All I did was go from my Ranger to my fish house and wonder why it didn't unlock sooner. You know?
Yep. It was nasty. And I'll tell you what, here's one of the things I've noted the last month. I've not ever seen it go from complete full-fledged winter to where did the snow go? And here we are in spring.
Yeah, it was like a switch.
Yeah.
I was out of state for a little while. I came back and I'm like, with the amount of snow we had, it couldn't have disappeared that fast. I mean, it really did. It was like, boom, you know, good.
It is good.
Good. Goodbye.
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit, and I'll bring you back into some hunting, fishing at the end, but it's maple harvesting time. Tell people about this.
Well, I'll tell you what, here's the fun thing about maple syrup harvesting, Joel. This for me was a COVID hobby that I took up. I had friends who did it, but always thought, hey, that sounds really neat. Never took the time to do it myself until, where were we 2 years ago? We were sitting at home.
Yeah.
And we couldn't go anywhere or do anything. So
that had to drive you nuts.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. So what, hey, we're going to get online. We ordered a couple of supplies for collecting maple sap. I've got 6-7 maple trees in my backyard. Went out there, drilled a hole, put the tap in, and the sap started running. It couldn't be any easier. You literally just go out and do that. You collect the sap, you boil it down, and voila, here you've got maple syrup.
So it comes out, I've seen it comes out clear. Let's begin with the tap.
Yep.
How big a hole do you drill in the tree?
Well, there's a couple different, of course, sizes depending on what brand you use, but the ones I've used are about a 5/16 inch hole. So if you can run a drill, a cordless drill, you've got it mastered, right? Okay. You drill that little hole in the side of the tree. You're capitalizing on that time frame when the temps during the day are up in probably in the 40s, and yet it gets below freezing at night. That's optimal. But it does run for a couple of weeks. And yeah, you just drill that hole in your maple tree. You take a little hammer and you seat the tap, right? The little spout that goes in. You seat that in the tree, and the clear sap, the liquid that the trees are drawing out of the roots to carry the sugars up to the buds to grow their leaves for the year. You're taking that liquid. Of course, you're not taking all of it, right? You're just taking
You're not killing the tree.
No, you're not killing the tree at all. You're just taking a little bit of it, right? And you collect that up. And it contains all of the good stuff that's in the maple syrup. Now, it takes a little bit of sap to get yourself some maple syrup. You got to have, on a good producing tree, you're going to need about 30 gallons of sap to get 1 gallon.
You get 30 gallons out?
Well, not necessarily out of one tree, but just in whole.
Okay.
In a whole.
I was like, wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. Well, it is. And that'll boil down to about a gallon of syrup.
Okay.
And basically what you're doing is you are concentrating all the sugars that plant was going to be using, and you're evaporating the water. And you evaporate enough of that water, and it starts to go from the clear liquid down to a little bit of a kind of a cloudy liquid, and then pretty soon you get that golden, that just like amber color. Just,
the jar you have right
just
in front
like
of you.
This right here, Joel. Yeah.
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, that's going home with Joel. I just wanted you to know. So you gave it to me. I'm not stealing
Absolutely.
it. Right?
I brought it in for you, Joel. And the amazing thing is you can do this right in your own backyard if you got a couple of maple trees.
So does it the hole that you leave in the tree, does that damage the tree?
It does not. Now, obviously, you want
to
take care. You're going to go in there about 1.5 inches, 2 inches.
Oh, so not far at all.
Not real far. You want to get past the bark and into the pulp of the tree, right, into the wood. And when you're done, you carefully remove that tap, that spout out of the tree. And, over the course of the summer, that pole is going to heal itself up. Now, if you're doing this in continuous years, you want to move kind of like around a clock, right? Around the trunk of that tree, you want to move where you're drilling both around the circumference and also vertically up and down a little bit, just to not damage, not cause any damage.
But the tree is looking for that feed that you're taking away from it, or is it so minuscule that the tree doesn't miss what you stole, for lack of a better way of putting it?
That is right. We're stealing that from the tree. Here's the deal. If you've got a small maple tree, they say 10, 11 inches in diameter is about the minimum size. Okay. The ones I have in my yard, I can't reach my arms around them. And I got pretty long, big arms, right? So we're talking adult, mature trees. And I'm pulling, 5-7 gallons out of that, who knows how many thousands of gallons they're using as an organism. Typically, the common knowledge or the theory is that you're not harming that tree as long as you're not, tapping into a tree that's too small.
Okay. In terms of the collection structure, and it's one thing to put a spigot on a tree; it's another thing to collect it and do it. How do you do that? Walk me through that.
Well, in the old days, they just used a tin bucket, right? A tin bucket, and it couldn't be any simpler than that. Nowadays, they make the taps that are one style is plastic, has a little bit of hose that comes off of it, and you drain that into a 5-gallon bucket. Okay, that's a simple way to do it. Another one, the tap has a little bit of a hook on it, and you actually hang a metal hanger where you insert a bag that's made to collect the sap, and then the bag, when it's done, you can throw that away.
So you do this. You go out, you tap the tree, you get set up. It's the prime season. Yep. How often you got to go out and let's use a bucket scenario. How often would you have to go out and look at the bucket?
In my practice, I guess what I do is I'm out there every day. It's kind of my after work thing, right? You wrap up things for the day. You take a stroll around the yard and collect everything that's been drawn from those trees on that day. And you can refrigerate that sap for up to a week.
Okay.
But you got to boil it down within a week.
So if it's one of the trees as big as what you described that your long arms can't get around, how long before you think you got a bucket of sap?
Here's what's interesting. This is really the fun biology of it. The amount of sap production is influenced by the temperature. It's influenced by whether it's sunny or cloudy out and whether it's windy. Now, of course, here in the Dakotas, right, the wind you don't get away from it.
Right.
Wind extremely inhibits the sap run.
Okay.
So, for instance, last Thursday, I was out and one of those big trees produced about 4 or 5 gallons in a day. It really was putting a lot of sap out. The next day on Friday, the wind picked up, and I didn't even get a quart.
See, I would have lost $10 on that, Kyle, because I would have guessed that the tree is looking for strength and therefore moving more sap up, when the weathers are tougher. Because never mind. This is why I just barely stayed eligible for football. Okay, but let's talk about the fun of it. Yes. Just the sheer fun of it. When you go out and you see that, when you cook it, do you have to add sugar to it? Do you have to? What goes into the mix?
You bet. The mix is exactly what you're taking out of the tree, Joel. There is nothing you add to it, and that's the beauty of it. Now, I did it the first time a couple of years ago out of curiosity. Mm-hmm. Love maple syrup, right? Love my pancakes, love my French toast. I did it out of the curiosity from myself, but what I found is my grandkids love it. They absolutely love it. This year they were out helping to put the taps in the trees, and it's something that really anybody can do.
Yeah.
And for them, just as young as they are, to see that process walking through step by step, and in the end they get to put that syrup on their pancakes. That's pretty cool.
Oh, no kidding. They get to know that Grandpa made that, right? Or Grandpa's one reason it's sitting there. That would be so cool. I follow Alan Page on Twitter, and my hero when it comes to football years ago, Justice Page, and he right when it was tapping time, he started, and then he gives updates on it, and so I've been following it a little bit, and a guy should try it. It'd be fun. How long do you cook it?
So here's the thing, and really all you need is, like, I use a turkey cooker.
Okay.
It's all you need, a little propane burner. Do it outside in the driveway. And if you've got a bigger pan with more surface area, obviously the evaporation happens faster. But it's basically boiling it down to evaporate. And it's going to take, if you've got 5 gallons of sap, it's going to take you, probably 4 or 5 hours to boil that down.
All those walleye deep fryers you got, and you still use the turkey cooker?
Well, I don't use my walleye deep fryer.
Kyle, tell people where they can find your work, Brewer Agri Outdoors.
We are all over the place. We love the outdoors. We love sharing the outdoors with all the folks that are out there that are interested. And breweragrioutdoors.com is our website. But, of course, you can hear us every week on KFGO, the Mighty 790, here in Fargo and the surrounding area, and KWSN in Sioux Falls, South Dakota.